Adrian, what are you doing?
Well, Luis, let me tell you everything that I had to do to get this property sold. So I was passing out these flyers because a few weeks ago I was doing open house flyers, but now that we're sold, I get to do we sold flyers. And so I'm gonna be passing these out. But let me tell you everything that I had to do to get this property sold. I've been working on this listing since May when I took over the property and the home needed a lot of work. I had a suggestion for my client Connie, and I said, why don't we fix a few things so that we could have a better chance of selling? And right at that time, the market was also shifting. As we know now, the market is a lot slower than it was in April. And so fast forward, as I started dissecting the entire property, one thing came out after another, and I ended up spending about $29,000 out of my own pocket that my client does not have. And I ventured into doing this, which I don't recommend that you do unless you are the owner of the property. So agents out there, I don't think you should do that. But ultimately, my goal was to get Connie more money for her property because it's a really nice home and I think it could have sold really well. And honestly, I think the number that we ended up getting was excellent. Okay, so we're gonna start on the outside and everything that we did. So for starters, this right here that you see is a brand new driveway. Previous to this, it was a very damaged driveway that had a giant root from that tree crossing through here, and it was lifting the entire driveway. Now, did I need to do that? Probably not, but does it improve our chances of selling the property for a better number? Yes, because then you don't have to wonder about what's causing the driveway to lift up and all the problems that could come with that. So brand new driveway. Also, if you have an opportunity to look up here, the area right up there has or had a lot of pigeons. And so pigeons never go away. And if you are familiar with Las Vegas, pigeons are the rats of the sky. And once they nest somewhere, they don't want to leave. They pretty much make the entire community their community. And so they'll always be there if you don't get rid of them. So we hired somebody to be able to take down the nest and also put up the caging that you see. And so then it avoids them coming back. And as you can see, there's one right there on the corner because the neighbor hasn't done their part of it. And so if you live next to somebody that has pigeons, most likely your house is gonna have them as well too. And they'll never really go away unless everybody prevents them coming back. So what are the numbers? For the driveway, because I have somebody that I've worked with before, they gave me a really good deal on it. We ended up spending a little bit over $3,000 to remove the entire driveway and place back a really good brand new driveway. On the pigeons, also somebody else that I worked with as well, and we ended up spending $550 to remove the nest, cage it up or clean it up, and then cage it up and have it the way that it is now so that they don't come back. So moving on, the other thing that we did is we added gravel or rock to the yard. And here in Las Vegas, we use desert landscape on everything that we can. If it looks good, and honestly, it's the most economical. And we ended up removing the patch of artificial grass that the owner had there that was full of oil, just as much as the driveway. And so we took all those things out to clean it up and have it as good looking as it is now. The tree also had to be trimmed. So all those things together for the landscape, probably another $1,000. Okay, so now that we've done the outside, let's go inside and see where the majority of the work and the money was spent. Luis, welcome to my crib. Man, I can't believe that's an old person thing. So now that we're in the inside, this is where the majority of the money was spent. And I didn't intend to spend this much on it, but if you've ever done some remodeling in your home or for people that flip properties, because this isn't a flip, but we did have to take a lot of things out because as I kept going more in detail, it was just so bad that it wasn't gonna do any good to the seller, and no buyer's gonna wanna get into that. And if there are buyers for it, they're gonna wanna get the property for a much lower price. And that's what I was trying to avoid for my client, Connie. So we're gonna start first with painting the majority of the home. So the home hadn't been painted, I'm gonna say in probably about 10 years. So 10 years ago, the colors that were in back then, definitely not the same colors they're in now. Also, the home had really old blinds, and as you can see, I left all the blinds out. I just didn't want to put them back in there because this home actually gets some really nice natural light, and it also gives the buyer their options of them putting curtains or blinds of whatever they want. So anytime you go into a home to make it feel more modern, one of the things that I hate is when you see really small baseboards. And the reasons that I hate that there's small baseboards is because baseboards is probably one of the most economical things that you could purchase that is gonna really make the home stand out. So putting large baseboards really makes the home pop between the white and whatever color you choose on the walls. It just makes the home feel a lot more modern. So what did we have in this area? In this area before, there is tile flooring, and the tile flooring is actually still underneath this flooring. And so this is what they call luxury vinyl plank. And so I didn't go with a super expensive high grade. It was somewhere in the middle, but definitely not the cheapest. So this is a really nice luxury vinyl plank. It matches with some of the flooring that the bedrooms already had. And I wanted to get something closer to it because if it's too different, then again, we would just be in a big mix up and people don't like that. So I needed something that looked very familiar to what some of the other bedrooms had, which you're gonna see in a little bit. So the flooring here that we got at half price flooring is actually one of the best places that you could actually buy this stuff at because it's good quality and is not as expensive as say Lowe's or Home Depot, and the quality is very similar to it. So coming into this family room area here with the fireplace, there wasn't really a lot that we did here, but just changing the paint color makes a huge difference in comparisons, and it makes the home brighten up a lot as well. So the vinyl floor, I did it all through here so that it could actually flow all the way into the kitchen and flow into the hallway this way. And if we observe at the entrance of the property, you can also see that it flows all the way onto the bedroom. And the whole idea is to make it flow through the entire bottom floor so that it feels like it's the entire flooring of the house. Okay, so now we go into the kitchen where the majority of the money that I had to spend was spent. And the reason for that is because what was here was severely damaged already. It was original. This home was built in 1996. So you have cabinets that are greasy and full of whatever was done in all those years. What is it now? 31 years or 29 years or yeah, 29 years. The home was built in 1996. And so we took out all the original cabinets that were here. We took out the sink. So all the plumbing has to be redone. So all those things add up. But the most important thing is that once you remove the kitchen, right, you're gonna have countertops that are matching the bathrooms. So now if I have a completely remodeled kitchen with countertops that are brand new, then if the bathrooms don't have it, then it adds something that the majority of buyers look out for. And in this market, it's not a good idea to give reasons for the buyers not to like the property. So all in all, the cabinets getting a discount for as much as we could, they ended up being about $4,000, and that's just the cabinets. So that's not to put them together. So the cost of actually putting together the cabinets and actually installing them was another $3,000. So all of that together, now you can see $7,000 immediately gone. Then once you remove the cabinets, then you have to do the same for the other bathrooms. This home has a 3/4 bathroom down here, and then it has the master bedroom bath and the second bathroom upstairs. And so that is a lot more countertops than I was counting on from the beginning of the project. So now we have brand new cabinets in the entire house, the bathrooms upstairs. We're going to need countertops that actually match each other as well too. And in this project, I decided to go with quartz because it's a lot more durable and it's also appealing to people. And there's a big difference between quartz and granite. The granite colors that they have might not be exactly what everybody's looking for. And this is a little bit more modern, I thought. And so this is what we went with. We went with a white, snow, sparkling quartz countertop, and we matched it in all the bathrooms as well too. And you're gonna get to see that in a little bit, but please take a look. So let's talk about how much the quartz is. For the deal that I got on this one, for the quartz in the entire kitchen here, and everything has to be cut exact to what the kitchen size is, and the bathrooms and the cabinets in the bathrooms. So that was another $3,500. Which doesn't seem bad, but all these things are starting to add up, right? I already mentioned it, but let me give you my reasonings as to why I decided to pull out the entire old kitchen. And let me tell you why. The kitchen was just so bad that the cabinets actually had a smell coming from them. And when it's to that point, to resurface the cabinets just cost about the same as buying brand new cabinets. So I've already tried that before on some of my rentals, and I just don't like the way that it feels after a few years. It just feels old. And so Las Vegas is gonna have this problem a lot with a lot of these houses that have old things, right? The 1990s seem like maybe it's not that long ago, but it is. All these things are 30 years old, and they're gonna need to be removed so that we could all feel like we're in a newer house, and that's just something that is everywhere now. The appliances weren't bad, and they're in decent condition, and stainless steel always helps because they look really nice. But the buyer on here ultimately decided to keep most of it. The only thing that I ended up having to replace was the microwave because it was in pretty bad shape. It was greasy and just nasty, just the same as the cabinets were. Something that I learned on this project, that every cabinet seller or installer does everything different. So this company that I bought them from didn't put them together for you. So then I had to find somebody to actually get that done. So that set me back about 2 or 3 weeks because I wasn't expecting that. And then to get the cabinets on time to do that and for them to actually put them together. And so that required some searching of somebody to do that is good at it. And so finally I got a recommendation to be able to put them together. Even down to the details of a cabinet handle here is something that you also have to figure out before you actually go and order all those things, because it is gonna matter and somebody's gonna have to do that work. And it's not just as simple as screwing it in, because if they're offset and they're not centered, it's gonna look bad, right? So now this buyer is gonna have a brand new kitchen for them. So that includes all the plumbing for the kitchen here. The faucet is brand new as well. So I hope they get to enjoy it as much as I imagine they could. Carpet. So I went with carpet in the second story because honestly, it's the most economical. So I already spent all the money on the flooring, on the kitchen. I just did not want to continue to invest more money into it. And carpet is more economical, especially on the second story, because you're going to be going up in stairs, up and down quite a lot. And to put luxury vinyl plank or laminate on the stairs is a lot more expensive. And ultimately, even though I'm putting all this money up front, the seller is going to be paying for it at the end of the day. And this is the best bang for your buck for carpet, because most buyers don't look to say, oh, the carpet is different than the flooring downstairs, because you would think they're going upstairs just to sleep and not live as much as you do in the living areas, family room, and the kitchen, right? So in the second story, so here in the second story, this is actually one of the most appealing parts for me of this house, because from here you could actually see the entire living room and the family room, and it just provides a really good scenery. I could just imagine somebody having their Christmas tree right there, and the kids waking up on Christmas Day, ready to open up their gifts with their tree right there, and Santa probably already came down, or who knows, maybe they caught Santa putting the gifts up. Okay, one of the things that I decided to leave intact and not move is actually this thing. So this will give you an idea of what the cabinets look like. These are the original 1996 cabinets from the 90s, and these have a little bit of wear and tear on it, but for me, it kind of left a little bit intact of what the original home was like and what cabinets would have looked like if they weren't as used and nasty as the kitchen ones. It would be a color like this, which actually this color is actually coming back. So not as a little bit more dark and not as maple. And again, the entire home was painted. These have to be painted a white color, which is the painters take care of that when they're doing the full paint. But if you don't hit those particulars, right, you could have a full paint, but if they don't match the baseboards and the doors with a nice white, you're gonna have some really nice brand new walls. So if you don't actually focus on the trim, you're gonna have some really nice walls and some really nasty old trim. So the painters, you have to make sure that they're actually painting the trim, which seems like common sense, but you just never know what kind of deal you're gonna get. But this is what pretty much was done in the entire house, and it matters. You will see that all these closets don't have any doors, and that's just the way that the owner had it prior to that. And I thought about getting brand new closet doors, but I decided not to because it turns out they're actually kind of pricey. And so at that point I was like, I'm not gonna do that anymore because I've already done everything else. So all the closets don't have any of those. And I guess the buyer that's gonna be buying the property is okay with it, but normally you definitely wanna keep the doors. I don't know why the owner took out the doors. Many homes have a Jack and Jill bathroom, and this is one of them. So here in the bathroom, you're gonna see the flooring that is very similar to what I was trying to match with the flooring downstairs that I talked about. But you're gonna be able to see that we replaced the mirror that was back here because it was a really old mirror. And mirrors break because they seem to be attached to the cabinet. And not only that, they were probably sitting on the base for years and years. And so when you took out the cabinets, the mirrors usually come down with it. So we got some from Home Depot, which is honestly not the best, but at least it adds a little bit of a modern touch, because leaving it without a mirror would just be kind of silly. And here we have the quartz countertops and the matching white cabinets. So this big vanity, one of the other difficult things is that as the years change, to be able to match a size of cabinets is very different, because if you're to get some cabinets or pre-made cabinets at Home Depot or Lowe's, you're gonna find that they only make certain sizes. So if you need to customize it to actually fit a bathroom that was built in 1996, it's very difficult. So this is one of the other reasons why I went with a custom cabinet as opposed to a pre-made one, was because I needed to actually make this fit, because I can't change the size of the entire bathroom. So again, here's what we did. So white countertops and white cabinets with the nice handles that match everything downstairs and the other bathroom. And the mirrors are also exactly the same as in the bathroom downstairs, and the Jack and Jill, just to add some matching, just to make it match. The light fixtures is also something that I wanted to change, but I ultimately just left it, again, because I just didn't find the need to actually do it if it wasn't needed. And of course, you know, if I would have matched one and another, it would have looked a lot nicer, but ultimately it wouldn't have changed a buyer's motivation to want to buy the home. So again, this master bedroom, we just go back to the basics. So we redid the paint and did the baseboards, and just changing those things adds a lot more light to the room. Previously, again, they had some beige brown walls. And so it's a big difference between what was here and how dark it looked to what it is now. And now the buyer gets to choose whatever blinds or whatever they want to put here. But this adds a lot of light coming in. All the windows here, the owner had put sunscreens, which prevents a lot of sun from coming in. Right now it would be beaming in, but those sunscreens make a big difference. And again, just brand new carpet that flows in through the entire second floor, and it just is gonna make the buyer feel like they're in a brand new house, because everything mostly is new to how I would feel. If it had the old carpet that was here, it's just a nasty feeling. And one of the reasons to do all this that I ended up doing was just to make sure that whoever was going to buy the property didn't feel like they had to invest all that money into it. Because being able to get a loan for it as your mortgage with a minimum down payment, it's a much bigger difference to have to do that versus have to put your down payment and then also have to do all those remodels and rehab yourself. So now it's all done for the buyer and they get to live happily ever after in their home. So throughout this entire home and during this process, I had to decide what would make sense and what wouldn't. And this master bedroom here, which is one of the things that actually people do consider when they're thinking about buying the property or not. A lot of people really do want a full walk-in closet, and this home really does not, because even though you do walk in here, it's not very, there's not a lot of depth to it, and it's not very big. And so here, all we did was just paint it and get it cleaned up. But that was about it, because it doesn't add a lot of value if we would have done anything else. So for the full paint, including the trim, but not the baseboards, I had somebody that helped me with that, and that was $2,900 that we spent on that. The carpet, also with a very decent material. It wasn't the cheapest carpet. It was a good amount of padding, and that ended up being $1,750. Plus we had the fixtures, for example, all the plumbing, all the bathrooms have new faucets. The showers and the baths, some of them didn't need any new faucets, so we were able to avoid that. But all the sinks have brand new faucets and all that adds up. So we ended up spending about $350 on all of them, plus the labor to actually get that done. So we're finishing up in the backyard, which is where we spent the least amount of money on. And ultimately it was just cleaning and removing this tree. There was a very dead tree here. And so all this was originally put in by the owner before. And this patio, same as well. And I thought we were gonna have some issues with the appraisal on this patio, but we didn't. So it flowed nicely. So we had to take care of a little bit of plumbing things just to kind of clean everything up. But ultimately, The only thing that was done here is just cleaning, and that was it. And my biggest reason for that is it's a small backyard. Typically in this part of town, people are looking for a much bigger yard. So what I found out was that the backyard made a big difference to why people like the property or not. And ultimately, I think I was correct in not having to spend a lot of money on this backyard, because ultimately the size is really what restricted getting more money for the property, because people want a big backyard. And honestly, this is not a very big backyard. It's a decent one. So ultimately, if you're gonna be buying this property, is because you're gonna spend a lot of time inside. You need the 5 bedrooms that the home has, which is very unique to the entire community. A lot of the homes have 4 bedrooms, but none of them actually have 2 bedrooms downstairs, which again is very unique to whichever buyer. But you have a 2-car driveway, an ample amount of parking space in the front, but the backyard really restricts anybody that thinks about having a big home and not a big backyard. And there's a lot of competition of other listings that did have bigger backyards. And that's why my pricing went down from $460 to $450 to $435. And ultimately we're gonna be closing for $427,000, and also giving the buyer some closing costs, because most buyers these days need closing costs. So here we have it. 8063 Peach Orchard is finally sold, and it's going to sell for $427,000. So ultimately, this is going to be my blood, sweat, and financial tears of what was put into this house. Because again, I don't recommend anybody spending $29,000. If you're a listing agent, if you're an owner of a property, it gives you a really good idea of what sometimes you need to do if your home is very outdated, if it's damaged, if it has things that just these days buyers don't have the money to actually put it into the property once they put a down payment into the property, unless they're very handy and that type of thing. But the majority of the buyers these days, which is going to be younger people, first-time buyers, don't have the funds to be able to do those things. So if we do it, if the seller does it, it just really gives you an opportunity to get a lot more money for your property than you otherwise would if you just leave it the way it is, because then it's a rehab, it's a TLC project for somebody to have to spend all that money. And that's why I invested all that into it, so that ultimately my seller could get a lot more money than they would have. And ultimately she pays for it, but I put all the money up front so that the home could end up looking like this, and we could get a much better buyer and a much higher price. And that's how you spend $29,000 on a listing of you helping the seller sell their property. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, we're gonna have a lot more videos like this coming up in the future, showing you Las Vegas, brand new homes in Las Vegas, and a lot more. Until the next one, this is Adrian, your real estate agent.